I'm Rick Torbett, and welcome to Better Basketball's Better One-on-One Defense. There are two halves of the game of basketball, offense and defense. Offense gets a lot of attention. But consider this, if you score, you may win. But if you stop your opponent, you will never lose. Defense is not very glamorous. But for those that know and love the game, we know that defense wins championships. There is deep and personal satisfaction in becoming your team's defensive stopper or holding the nation's leading scorer to his or her season low. Coaches and teammates know they need a stopper. Becoming a great defender can put you on another level because you are needed. You are prized for your special abilities because you're going to take out your opponent's best player. What a compliment it is to inspire fear and respect to the point that your opponent shakes his head and takes a deep breath when he finds out that you're the man that's going to be checking him tonight. Consider this. You're defending a clone of yourself. Same strength, equal quickness, identical skills. Since your offensive clone knows exactly what he's going to do, he's the initiator and you're the reactor. And that extra split second of reaction time gives him the advantage. So what you must accomplish, what is at the very core of great defense, is to change the advantages and percentages of one-on-one basketball to your favor. You must go from being a reactor who is always a step behind to a dictator who is controlling and limiting your opponent's options. And that's what better one-on-one defense is about. Now, the video is divided into 8 chapters. The first chapter will break down the proper defensive stance. Chapter 2 addresses all the basic movements needed to play dominating one-on-one defense. Chapters 3, 4, and 5 address the 3 most common defensive situations: defending a player handling the ball in the open court, defending a perimeter player who is attacking from the pivot, and defending a player in the post. In Chapter 6, we'll examine your options when your man decides to shoot. Chapter 7 will give you workouts and drills specifically designed to improve your defensive game. And finally, Chapter 8 contains 10 game hints. Now, this video is not about how to handle screens, how to defend away from the ball, or a specific defensive system. That's your coach's job. He's got to consider the type of players on your team, the need to dictate tempo, and your team's style of play. We'll leave that to your coach. What this video is about is the principles and techniques that enable you to play high-caliber one-on-one defense. If you've always been quicker and stronger than your opponent, then you might think you don't need this video. But sooner or later, you're going to go up against that great player who is every bit as athletic and savvy as you are. That's your defining moment. And that's where better basketball's better one-on-one defense comes in. Let's get started. The foundation of dominating one-on-one defense is to get in a stance, move in a stance, stay in a stance until you get the ball. The correct defensive stance involves getting in an aggressive stance with your knees bent at just over 90 degrees. Stick your bump out and arch your lower back in order to put your head directly over your knees and the balls of your feet. Don't get too low or too wide and lose your ability to be quick and explosive. Remember, you must be able to transition to a sprint at any time. Sprinters start extremely low, with their hands actually touching the ground. Being low gets you ready to explode and immediately achieve maximum speed. So a stance puts you in that low, athletic sprinter's position. When the man you're guarding attacks, you're in the best possible position to be able to explode with him. But if you're standing upright and your man makes a move, you must first drop to a stance and then try to move with him. That's wasted time. Take the drop out and you'll save valuable reaction time. A good stance helps you mentally. Our subconscious mind and our body are connected. If your limbs are straight and relaxed, your body sends your mind the subconscious message to relax. But if you're in a stance, your body sends your subconscious mind the signal that something is up. Be alert. Think of when you're startled. Your adrenaline pumps, your body doesn't stay relaxed, it gets in a stance. Bottom line, being in a good defensive stance will make you more mentally alert and give you the extra split second of reaction time that you need. Your feet should be slightly more than shoulder width apart. The majority of your weight should be on the balls of your feet, but your heels should still be on the ground. You should be pressing the floor with the inside of each foot. Why? Because you push off with the instep of one foot and step with the other. Set up your defensive stance by placing one foot slightly in front of the other. This lead foot has a matching hand that we'll call the lead hand. Now, there are 3 uses for the lead hand. First, it's used as a measuring stick to ensure proper spacing. If you can touch your man's belly button, then you're too close. If he can hold the ball in his shot pocket, you're too far away. If he's able to get in a controlled dribble, then you're also too far away. Second, the lead hand discourages the crossover and makes the dribbler use a slow change of direction move like a spin or around the back. And third, the lead hand keeps your opponent from getting into a comfortable triple threat position. He'll have to hide the ball from this hand, losing the ability to take a quick shot. The backhand is used to discourage and deflect passes. It can deflect air passes and bounce passes. Don't get lazy and let it dangle from your shoulder to the ground. You've got 2 hands, so let's use them both. As we said earlier, keep your head directly over the line drawn between your knees. When your head's in front of this line, your weight will be too far forward. If your head's behind your knees, then your weight will be back on your heels. Either way, you're going to lose balance, and you need great balance to explode in any direction. Now that you're in a stance, you've got to add the techniques of movement. The faster you can do them, the quicker you can change from one to the other, the better defender you'll be. The quickest way to move laterally in a defensive stance is not to cross your feet. Rather, move in what is commonly called a step slide. But I think the term step slide is misleading. Why? Because to move laterally at maximum speed, you need to push, step, slide. First, push off with the foot opposite the direction you're going. Second, step with the other foot, as big a stride as you can. To speed up the stride, move the matching hand in a wax-on, wax-off motion. Third, slide your foot directly under your head without crossing your feet, shifting weight from one foot to the other. Now you're ready to push off and begin the sequence again. When step sliding, your feet should be close to the ground, just skimming the surface. This allows you to make quick changes of direction, and it's the most efficient way to move. If done properly, your head will move in a line horizontal to the ground without bobbing up and down. When you use the lateral push-step slide to cut a player off, he may spin or cross over and try to beat you the other way. You must change direction with him and move towards a new spot that cuts off his angle of penetration. Now, how do you quickly and efficiently make this difficult change of direction? Pivot on your outside foot and swing step your other leg in the direction of his penetration. A secret to a quick swing step is to throw your elbow in the direction of your swing step. This will ensure that your knee and elbow mirror each other and move simultaneously, making your movement highly efficient. After your swing step, you may have to convert to a sprint for a few steps before you break down to a push-step slide again. And when you do change directions, both the lead hand and the lead foot change as well. To close out means to bridge the gap between you and your opponent in such a way that you both discourage the shot and defend the drive. Now, I admit, at first, this is a difficult feat to correctly perform. You must sprint and hurry to get there, but if you arrive in a sprint, it's easy for the offense to drive by you. If you play it too conservatively to ensure that you stop the drive, he'll simply shoot a wide open shot. There's the dilemma. Now, here's the answer, and it's all in technique. First, sprint until you're within one stride of reaching him. Then, chop your steps in order to bring your body and base under control. While shortening your steps, throw up your lead hand to discourage the shot. But don't raise your torso and lose your stance and balance. Keep your bump down low. You'll have a low center of gravity and be able to change directions in case he drives. When your opponent is going to shoot near the basket, especially a quick shot, your goal should be to make him miss without fouling and to get the rebound, or at least prevent him from an easy putback. The technique to change his shot is easy. Shoot both hands up so your arms are vertical and form a wall. Hopefully you'll hinder his vision or make him shoot a little bit higher than normal. But at the very least, you've shown the officials your hands and that you have a fundamentally sound position and that you're trying not to foul. But that's only half the technique. I've seen players form the wall, make their man shoot short, only to miss the rebound and let the shooter slip by for a putback. That's why I call it the wall and block. You must create the habit of changing the shot and then quickly stepping through into a block out, ready to rebound. What if you've played perfect defense and cut off your opponent's drive, but he doesn't stop? He's determined to drive through you, or maybe he can't stop. Possibly he thinks he can slip by you at the last second, or perhaps he thinks you'll just get out of his way. Regardless of the reason he keeps coming, you have to take the charge if you're going to be a top-notch defender. To take a charge without getting called for a blocking foul, you must be squarely in the path of your opponent. And the key to getting the charge call is for both of your feet to be on the ground before you draw contact. Drawing a charge is tricky because you've got to minimize your chances of getting hurt while maximizing your chances of getting the call. We can address both of these at the same time. As your man starts to barrel into you, have your weight or center of gravity on your heels. Let your torso straighten a bit, but keep your bump out and your knees bent in an athletic position. This will put your head behind the line of your knees, and as we said earlier, this will affect your balance and make it easier to knock you down. Now, there are different ways you can use your hands and arms to protect yourself. But I favor holding one arm up and one arm down. This allows you to protect your groin, midsection, and face all at the same time. Knowing you are protected keeps you from turning your head, because if you do, your head will turn your torso and the official won't make the call. In fact, he'll change the call to a block on you. If you try to hold your ground when you get hit by a player moving at full speed, you're asking to get hurt. Instead, time his contact with your weight going backwards and get a little air under your feet. Being an inch off the ground helps to absorb the blow. Tuck your chin to your chest to protect the back of your head from hitting the floor. Follow your bump, slap the floor with your palms, and slide backwards. This helps spread the impact. It also ensures that you don't break your fall with your hands first. If you do this, you could break your wrist. And hey, a little acting goes a long way. Let the air be forced out of you at the point of contact with a loud "Ah!" Your goal on defense should be to dominate or control the offensive player to whatever extent you can. If you can take the ball from your opponent, then do it, and defense is over. But if you're up against a quality opponent whom you can't take the ball from, then just take away his best option. Force him to use his weak hand or force him to a bad area. But what if you can't dictate what you want him to do? Then at least influence him. And if you're up against Jordan and you can't influence him, then at least stay between him and the goal. My point here is control. You must control the offensive player to whatever extent you can. The following 4 chapters are not about how to dominate a player that you're athletically superior to. Rather, we're going to prepare you for defending the best players, taking your defensive game to the next level. Defending the dribbler one-on-one in the open court is the first step to becoming a feared defender. Hey, his team can't score if he can't get the ball past half court. Wouldn't it be nice to have a one-step lead if you were in a foot race? Well, that's what an overplay is. You can overplay the direction your man is heading and get that one-step advantage by pointing to the ball with your lead hand. If the ball handler changes direction, change your lead hand and foot. And since you're pointing at the ball, this will force you to quickly overplay it in the other direction. Don't let your man square himself to the goal. There are too many options, too many fakes available for him. If you allow him to square himself to you, he can explode into a speed dribble and school you. So keep a closer gap and put him into a power dribble stance. He'll be slower and have fewer options to beat you. Angle the dribbler to an out-of-bounds line. Then as he approaches it, speed up to cut off any opportunity for him to slip by. Use the out-of-bounds line as another defender. Think one-man trap. When he picks up the ball, go body to body with him. If possible, straddle his pivot foot and leg and trace the ball with both hands and look for the deflection. Forcing or inviting the dribbler to use his weak hand will cut down on the number of weapons he has to beat you. Do this by placing your body in the path of his dribble and changing your angle to influence him to use his weak hand. Most players are not equally skilled with both hands, even though they should be. Hey, if they have a weak hand, you can bet they don't have better basketballs, better ball handling. Turn him. Make him change hands and directions as many times as possible. This involves overplaying one side, and then when he changes direction, you must swing step, sprint to recover, and then overplay in the other direction, starting the sequence over. 3 good things occur when you turn your man. First, all this excess ball handling will increase his chances of turning over the ball. Second, you'll have extra time to detect his weaknesses and flaws. This will allow you to eventually get a deflection or a steal. And finally, this will decrease his chances of spotting an open teammate and making a successful pass. Be careful about forcing the dribbler in one direction. You don't want to give him too much or he'll gain the extra step or space needed to beat you. Consider positioning yourself to shade him to one side. Consider that you're only influencing him in one direction. Learning how to play defense on the dribbler in the irritating manner I've just described takes time and practice. Especially when you're learning, you're going to occasionally get beat. Even accomplished defenders make mistakes and let great ball handlers get by them. But defense isn't over just because they get by you. Here are some tips on recovering. Using your closest hand, tip under the hand of the dribbler as you recover past him. Don't reach across your body or slap down on the ball. You'll get called for the foul. Don't recover directly behind the dribbler. If he stops, you'll run over him and get called for the foul. Sprint to a spot well in front of the dribbler before you turn and break down into a defensive stance. Most defenders make the mistake of trying to close off the dribbler too soon, usually when they're side by side. 99% of the time, the officials call that a foul. If your man is threatening to score before you've recovered, look to run in front of the layup and strip him. Don't take a violent swipe at the ball. You'll get called for the foul. Instead, try to mess with his timing by making him hide the ball and change his steps. This chapter is the essence of one-on-one defense. First to 11, make it, take it, win by 2, check. Ball in. How your man catches the ball will dictate your initial stance. A bad catch means you can crowd the pivot foot, eating up the space between you. Straddling his pivot leg will allow you to put some pressure on his leg with your legs and affect his balance. Stay down in your stance while you do this because he still has a live dribble. If he shoulders you to create space and gain his balance back, then you need to flop, that is, take the charge. A good catch, one where the offense is threatening to score right away, means you need to close the space carefully. Approach him with very small step slides using what you learned from the closeout maneuver. Get your lead hand up to initially discourage the shot, and then bring your hand down to his shot pocket, allowing you to measure the gap. If the player gets low with the ball, he's a threat to drive. He has no shot pocket, so you can use your lead hand to discourage the sweep. His stance is low, therefore yours must be lower. He must raise up in order to shoot or pass. That's time for you to adjust. If the player gets high with the ball, then he can't drive or shoot. His only option is to pass. Stay in a stance, but eat up the space and go body to body with him. Trace the ball with your hands, crowding his passing lanes and his vision. But remember, he still has his dribble. If he brings the ball down, then you must give a little ground, returning to your standard defensive stance. If the ball's in his shot pocket, then he's in triple threat and very dangerous. Stay in your stance and use your lead hand to make him move the ball out of his shot pocket and away from the shot line. Now, don't get greedy and narrow the gap so much that you can touch his belly button. Being that close, you'll get burned. Your primary goal here is to simply get the ball out of his shot pocket without allowing yourself to be susceptible to the drive. Some of the same principles that are used to influence a dribbler's direction are also used to influence the direction of a player with his pivot. If you have a choice, force him to his weak hand. It's called a weak hand for a reason. Force him to use it. Position your body and stance at such an angle that it leaves him no choice but to go in one direction. Or force him to an out-of-bounds line and use it as another defensive player. You can get a one-man trap. Or force him to a help defender. Or finally, you may need to force him wherever your coach prefers, based on your team's defensive system. Play the drive by reading the offensive player's non-pivot foot, which I call his attack foot. Any movement from this foot should elicit a response from you. If you don't move back, he's already gained a half step and can easily beat you on the drive. So when he makes a slight move forward with that attack foot, take a 2-foot hop back. This will give you a head start on his drive, help you anticipate, and get your feet moving quickly. If he resets to triple threat, don't hop back toward him. Creep up to regain the space. But let's assume he continues his drive. When his first dribble hits the ground and he begins his attack, the techniques of defense revert back to the last chapter on defending the dribbler. You must be positioned in a slight overplay while pointing to the ball with your lead hand, no matter which direction he's moving. If your opponent gets the ball in the post, you're in trouble already because it's difficult to stop a player just a few feet from the basket. So, the primary goal of post defense is to prevent the ball from getting there in the first place. Up the line, on the line means to have both of your feet on the line of the pass from the ball to your man. Place an arm bar on his chest as a feeler. You're now denying the pass with your entire body. If he wants to get the ball, he must fight his way through you. Another reason to play up the line on the line is to keep you from being sealed when the ball is passed around the perimeter. If you're on his hip with only your hand in the passing lane, then when the ball is moved, you're going to get sealed behind him and schooled. Post defense is a battle for space, and you must win that battle before the ball is passed. On a low to high diagonal cut, chest the cutter off the line of the ball. You can't hold him, but you can arc him off of the line of the cut. Now, if he starts his cut and midway changes direction, heading towards the low post, shoot an arm bar through across his chest, snap your head, change your stance, and deny with the other hand. If he's too strong for the arm bar, get your hands up so that the officials don't call you for holding, and chest him off of the prime scoring area. If he tries to slip behind you for a baseline cut, then just bump him with your bump. Make sure to keep your arms up and wide. The battle for space in the post is not won by the arms. Rather, it's a foot battle for the passing lane. Unlike on the perimeter, a hand in the passing lane isn't enough. So, beat his foot by stepping over his leg. This will put your body in a dominant position with your hand and arm covering the passing lane. What if you're guarding somebody so good that a simple denial isn't enough? Perhaps a dead front is the only way you can keep your opponent from getting the ball in the post. Here's how it works. Take your outside arm and swim over his arm. At the same time, swim over his arm and shoulder with your arm and shoulder. Pass your hips past his. His weight can't support yours, and you'll slip in front, sit down, get your hands up wide, and keep a dead front. Some post players are so good at winning the battle for position that you must spend your energy not playing them, but confusing the passer. The way to do this is to constantly change your positions so that the guard can't get a read on the proper passing angle. The passer may get confused and decide that it's not worth the risk, or better yet, he may throw the ball away. Place one forearm on his waistline in an armbar position and put the other one up in the air as if you're getting ready to use it to block his shot. If you use that hand to reach in and try to deflect his dribble, it'll get your body out of position and you'll lose your base and he'll spin and beat you. Resist that temptation. Your job is to stay between him and the goal and to hold your ground. If he tries to back you in, don't try to use your hips to stop his progress. As soon as you do that, he'll spin and beat you. Rather, stay in your stance with your bump out. Move in short hops so that you can keep your base. Now, if you're guarding a player who has a pet move that you're having trouble stopping, body up with him by chesting that favorite shoulder as soon as he catches the ball. Whenever your man takes a shot in the post, you must wall and block. Both arms go straight up. This is low percentage in terms of creating a foul. The advantages are you can block his vision, change his shot a little, and most importantly, make a quick turn into a blockout. Your man has used his best move to create space, and he thinks all that's left is a swish. But you can still get a stop. Regardless of a player's pass or shot fakes or how they catch the ball, 99% of jump shooters bring the ball through their chest area when they take their shot. You can block the shot by sticking your hand in this key area. For example, you can strip the quick draw, or after you stop the drive, you can block or change his shot on the way up. Or if he flies by but decides to pull up, recover and strip him. If you can't block your opponent's shot from his shot pocket, then jump with the shooter, keeping a visible gap between your bodies. Let the official see that there is no contact going up, and the space will allow you to land without brushing him on the way down. Best case scenario, you deflect the ball and ensure he misses. If you don't get the ball, at least you'll change his shot. If you can't change his shot, at least your hand will disrupt or block his view of the goal. The flyby is used when you're recovering to a shooter and your sole job is to change his shot. In other words, a closeout will be far too late to prevent the shot. Choose a side so you don't run into him, then literally fly by and swipe with the hand closest to the shooter. An all-out sprint and a violent swipe might not deflect the shot, but you will distract him or make him rush his shot. Are you willing to do whatever it takes to be the best, to separate yourself from your competition? You can condition your body to be a defensive machine by adding these defensive drills to your workout. There are an infinite number of drills that will improve your speed, quickness, and athletic ability. But the 5 drills in this section emphasize the footwork and types of movement you'll need to master the techniques in this video and become a great defensive player. They will build your ability to move laterally and change directions quickly. Now, don't spend too long on any one drill. Instead, do each drill for 10 to 20 seconds, maybe 2 sets, and then move on to another part of your overall workout. Be sure to keep your feet close to the ground. Again, the emphasis is quick lateral movement and efficient change of direction. Nothing takes the place of repetition to develop the self-confidence you need to be a great defender. Repetition builds habits, and good habits make for great instinctive players. Do each of these drills with perfect technique first, and then concentrate on doing things at a high speed. Again, spend only a few minutes each day with these drills. You want to constantly improve your technique, but you also want to keep it fun. Wall and a ball emphasizes the push-step slide. Start out by throwing the ball at an angle that makes you move only a few feet. But then really push yourself by tossing the ball at greater and greater angles so that you have to really move to reach the ball. The next 2 workouts are designed to make you use all of the standard defensive movements in a basic pattern. You can time yourself for the whole workout and then try to improve your time the next day. And you don't have to use these exact workouts. Make up your own pattern based on the defensive movements you need to improve upon. These workouts are designed to be done anywhere, in your driveway, in your yard, or on a half court or a full court. Regardless of where you are, don't call it a day until you've done your defensive homework. Partner workouts can be done in a teaching progression, starting with the standard closeout, then adjusting to triple threat, then playing the drive, and eventually leading up to live one-on-one. You'll develop the skills of dominating one-on-one defense in a building blocks fashion. Be warned, closeout one-on-one might be the toughest situation to defend. You've got to guard the shot, play the drive, and you've got no help behind you. But don't ignore closeout one-on-one. It's one of the best ways to simulate the one-on-one situations that occur in real games. The zigzag is meant to simulate game conditions in the full court. Along with incorporating the push-step slide, the swing step, the sprint to cut off, the overplay angle, and the proper gap, it might be the best conditioning workout of the whole bunch. Basketball is a complex and ever-changing game. Some things can't be categorized. But here are some hints that might give you the edge you need. When you're on the perimeter, the shooter has plenty of space he can use to get around a standard block out. Plus, using an aggressive block out on the perimeter in plain view of the official might get a foul called on you. Therefore, turn 90 degrees and use what I call a checkout. Put an arm bar across his chest and use it as a feeler. Now you can turn your head and watch the ball. When it hits the rim, release and pursue the ball. When your man has the ball, what part of his body do you want to focus on? Focus on his chest. He can fake with his head, shoulders, his feet, and the ball. Don't focus on those. You'll be able to see them in your peripheral vision. His chest is the only thing he can't fake with. Remember the flyby we talked about in the last chapter? Well, you can really distract a shooter if he thinks you're about to barrel into him. Just make sure you don't make contact with him. That would be a foul. Have you ever seen coaches make their players work on step sliding or other defensive movements without using their hands? Well, defense is certainly about feet and positioning, so I understand that drill. But to really help your speed, especially in the fourth quarter, try exaggerating movement with your arms and hands. Consider a 100-meter sprinter. Do they run with their hands tied behind their backs? No, they use them to pump their legs through the sprint. You can use your hands to help you move through any defensive movement. When you're back on defense and a speed dribbler is heading toward you at a stampede speed, you don't want to attack him head on. If you do, he'll use a simple in and out and blow by you. Instead, begin to retreat and match his speed so that you can angle him to the outer third away from the goal. You've always been told to use ball fakes, foot fakes, or shot fakes when you're on offense. But have you ever thought of faking on defense? For example, if you're getting back on defense where the dribbler's speeding towards you, fake at the dribbler while you're retreating. This won't put you in the vulnerable position we talked about in the last hint, but it may make him slow down, or he might veer to the outer third where he's not going to get an easy layup. As you learn from better basketball's better ball handling, the key to a proper spin move involves pulling the ball back with the dribbling hand. But some players don't pull the ball back with them as they begin their spin. Instead, they simply change hands, leaving the ball completely unprotected for a split second. When this happens, use your outside hand to deflect the ball and chase it down for a steal. But be careful. You have to get a hand on the ball when you try this, or you'll be out of position and he'll blow by you. There are two reasons offensive players are able to use a crossover to get past the defense. First, the dribbler has the space to execute the move. Narrow the gap, and he'll be unable to face you and use the crossover. Second, the defensive player allows himself to be put in a situation where he's vulnerable to both his left and right, So he gets faked one way and beaten the other. Take away either side with a simple overplay, and the move will be useless against you. To maximize your speed when step sliding, don't keep both of your feet pointed straight in front of you. Instead, point your front foot in the direction you're heading. We actually timed players using both techniques and discovered that players are considerably quicker when pointing the front foot forward. Plus, it's easier on the ankles. If you choose to defend with your feet even in a squared stance, then regardless of which way the offense drives, you must swing step before you can step slide. If you have to swing step before you move to cut him off, he'll already be a step past you and he'll explode to the go. So now you move to a staggered stance, but good offensive players will attack the lead foot to make you swing step and again get past you. So the answer is what we've been teaching with the overplay throughout the video. The overplay puts your lead foot in a position where the offensive player can't attack it. When you're playing one-on-one in your school's gym, on the playground, or in your driveway, you can work on mastering the techniques in this video and shutting down one opponent after the other. Sometimes defense is called the forgotten half of the game. But it's the half that can consistently get you playing time and help take you to the next level. You know, one night you might not be in the groove or in the zone on offense, but there never has to be an off night on defense. I want you to become a complete player and master both ends of the court with better basketballs, better one-on-one defense. And finally, this will decrease his chances of spotting an open teammate and making a successful pass. Your man has used his best move. And finally, this will decrease his chances of spotting an open teammate and making a successful pass. A successful pass. I'm going to slow down. A successful pass. What's the word about that? That's not even one of those words I screw up. All right. Second, you'll have extra time to detect his weaknesses and flaws.
What are you laughing at?
I'm afraid you're watching me to screw this word up, man. Well,
We got to make that a little more live.
That was weak.
From
Perhaps a dead front is the only way you can keep your opponent from getting the ball. Here's how it works. Take your outside arm and swim over his arm. At the same time, swim your inside arm and shoulder past his arm and shoulder.
Come on.
I didn't even know I had it on.
Come on, man.
In the row.
Did you throw it to him?
He just lost the handle.
Last time we caught it early there.
So you're going to catch it next time.
Can you get in an even less athletic position than that? Like maybe. How about this? How about this? Put one foot in front of the other.
Oh, there you go. The casual. And finally, this will decrease his chances of spotting an open teammate and making a successful pass. And making a good pass. How about that? And making a pass that works. And making a successful pass. No, I'm doing it one more time. And finally, this will decrease his chances of spotting an open teammate and making a successful pass.
Finally.